Okay, so welcome to the Percussion Hang, everybody. I'm really pleased to welcome an accomplished percussionist, one-man band, one-man tribe percussionist, Ben Eylon, and he's coming all the way from Israel right now. So thanks for joining us, Ben. Welcome. Where is he? Where is his picture? I saw him, and now it's now it's gone again. I did it. It must be something I did. All right. Hang on. Let's see. Nope, it's gone. All right. Ben, so we can't see your picture. I don't know if you're still there, but that's okay. But welcome, everybody. And as always, I appreciate all the patrons joining us live right now. And we're going to get to open some questions in a minute. But in the meantime, you guys know Ben invented the shake hat, that's the shake hat right there, even though it's out of focus. I think it's great. You know, anytime we have somebody on that's invented something unique, I think it's just inspirational to me. So I also have created numerous little inventions and things over the years, but it's nice to see something when it gets realized, you know. All right, and Ben is rejoining. So I'm going to, as soon as he starts his video, I will spotlight him. So yeah, the shake hat is it's like a combination sound, you know, a little bit tambourine, a little bit rattle, a little bit shakere, a little bit hi-hat, because it works off the pedal, off the hi-hat pedal. I hope you guys have had a chance to see Ben's videos, some of his videos, or, you know, visit his YouTube channel, because he has a lot of really great videos there. So he's coming. I can see Ben. Oh, I love this. The Zoom world sometimes is it's like building a ship in a bottle. You got to bring in all the pieces. Okay, there we go. All right.
All right.
Back. All right. So welcome, Ben. Thanks for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All
I
right.
can hear you well.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I was just talking about some of the stuff. Yeah, go ahead and keep you know, organizing yourself.
That's it. I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. All right. Well, welcome. So just tell us what's going on. Like, what are you excited about right now, and what are you doing?
Wow. These days, actually, I'm working a lot on building up my catalog of sample packs and audio samples of my drumming, different percussion instruments. Sampling is my main focus these days. Pretty excited about that because I can experience a lot of let's say artistic and different point of views to approach percussion playing. So I'm doing that by myself with my computer, just diving in and exploring sounds, effects, and rhythms that I can't really create live by myself. So I can record it as multi tracks, and this is what I'm doing these days.
All right, great. So for the people who might be watching who are not familiar with that, and I know this isn't the subject of really the discussion per se, but if you could run people through the short version of what it means to record sample libraries. And my question is also, are you doing individuals? Are you doing loops? Or are you doing both? Are you doing individual samples with MIDI, or is it all loops, or what's your goal there?
All right. So I started 2 years ago doing this type of work. First of all, because of COVID, I just looked for interesting ways to create music and also make some kind of a new to make a living in a new direction or a new different way from not being dependent on performing. So what is sampling and looping? So a lot of producers and beat makers and in general people who use music in their productions, they have few options. They can record themselves, they can call a musician to play and they record them, or they can download samples created by other producers or musicians that contain loops, specific loops of specific instruments in different styles, and also one shots. One shots, it means that if I take a conga and I play the tone, that's a one shot, just one shot of any drum or any type of hit. And it's a vast world with billions of dollars running every year. And lots of companies do that. And there are many marketplaces as well. So that's a little bit about what is samples and who uses that. So I just found that while I go deep into sampling, I can discover more about my percussion instruments in ways that I couldn't while I just play with people or record normal music in my productions. Because when you start to record loops, you have to create 4 bars or 2 bars of a groove, let's say, and you have to be very creative in order to create many of these without playing the same things. Mm-hmm. You have to reinvent yourself in that. So it really helps developing creativity and understanding differences and the meaning of small changes in the feel of playing things. And it's a very interesting work for me. And another thing I'm doing is I'm mapping my drums, which means that I take, let's say, a Senegalese drum, and I record every type of hit possible, every type of sound possible on that drum, and I record it in different velocities, meaning in different volumes. So let's say I play the tone, so I play it very quietly, and then I go up gradually, and then I sample each note, and I keep it in a bank, and later on I can map it in a way so I could play it with a keyboard, controlling the sounds with a keyboard and playing actually my drum through a keyboard, let's say. Mm-hmm. So that's another type of work you do with sampling. It doesn't have to be with drums, could be with any instrument today is already sampled, but the question is, what do you do with it and how do you process the sound? And again, it's a very vast world that exists for a long time now, and people trying to reinvent and create new things with it. So for me, it's cool to be able to play my drums or my sounds without having the drum itself, in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, especially when you've got a lot of large, heavy hardwood drums.
Exactly.
In this situation, sometimes it's not practical. It is nice to be able to sample and also work from home and be productive and serve the music production community. I mean, I'm sure a lot of producers are looking for sounds also that they haven't been able to find or that are different, or that where the feel is different. And so I want to use that as a kind of transition to go back in the other direction a little bit towards the live performing, which we're all happy about starting again. But those of the people who have seen your channel or watched your videos, I'm sure they're pretty blown away at what you're doing there. Because you're basically acting as a drum set. I mean, that's part of it, like a drum set artist, in that you're playing multiple instruments, with your 4 limbs, and maybe a couple instruments with each one of those. Like the left foot could be doing dunduns and shake cat at the same time. But could you talk a little bit about that? I know it's a big journey, to go back and study with Dudu and Dai Rose and study the Senegalese music and then form this one-man tribe idea. But could you just talk about that a little? And what was what drew you into, what motivated you along that journey?
Wow. Okay. Just a second. I need to say something to my assistant. זה נקרא World Drum Club. Just okay. Anyway, so your question. So it's important to first understand why did I choose to play hand percussion? Because I've been playing drum sets from the age of 10. I'm 34 now, and I played a lot of jazz in high school. And in jazz, you always have to improvise at some point, even if you don't want to. at some point, if you're playing a song with some friends, it's your turn to take the solo, you know, and they just point at you and you have to play. And I found it always a bit stressful, although I like to improvise and to put myself in situations I'm not comfortable in while playing. I like what it takes out of me. So that was kind of a moment that didn't feel right. And then I understood why. It was because I used sticks. And I felt like sticks are some kind of they take me away from the drums in a way. You know, I'm not touching the drum. There's a proxy. I don't know how to say it in yeah. So after high school, a friend came and said, let's go and play with this Guinean master drummer living up north. We didn't even knew he was living here in Israel, but he discovered him and we went and we started to play with him every week. And then I played djembe for the first time in my life. And I realized that touching the drum is the best way for me to express myself. While I grab a stick and immediately something takes me back and I don't know, creates a barrier or some kind of a distance. So that was a crucial moment that led me to being able to express what I want and being someone that wants to improvise and wants to express himself in a way, in a live performance, live with a live energy. That was a crucial moment. So understanding that really drew me into African drumming, West African drumming. And then a long story, we can go into it if you want. I already told you that story, but I traveled with Sabola Bangura, my teacher from here, from Israel, to the Gambia in West Africa twice to study there with his friends and a few of my friends as well. And on the second trip in 2008, I was 20 years old. We had some problems with visa. It's always a bit of a problem there. You never know if it's okay or not. Eventually, we were arrested for 4 days and deported to Senegal. So when we arrived to Senegal, I heard some music there that I said, okay, I was born to play this. Because playing djembe and dun, and I liked it, but also I felt, okay, so that's a progress that I'm playing with my hands and feeling the drum, but still it didn't feel like my soul is connected to that type of music. And discovering Senegalese drumming was mind-blowing. After coming back to Israel, my drum set teacher, who is actually a heavy metal drummer, but an amazing, I never played that, but he's just an amazing teacher. So he pointed me into Doudou Ndiaye-Rose. And he showed me a video of Doudou Ndiaye-Rose, who is the greatest, is considered to be the greatest West African drummer of all times. He's a human treasure by UNESCO. I really advise you to check everything you can about him, read about him, listen to his music. Pretty amazing. He has a big family, 50 or 60 children of his own. And this is his tribe and they play together. And it's really inspiring.
Well, that's one way to have your own band, for sure.
That's the only way.
I'm a little bit behind. I'm at 0, so I gotta.
So
build it up.
One thing led to another, and then I said, okay, I have to study with these people, with that family.
And is
with him?
Wolof, or is something else?
Yeah, that's Wolof, which is the largest, that's the biggest tribe, let's say, ethnic group, ethnicity in Senegal. Then you have the Serer, which is another one, but smaller. And back in the day, I think Facebook was not that big and reaching to, I said, okay, if I can't reach Doudou Ndiaye-Rose, I must reach one of his children, one of his sons somewhere. So I discovered that I realized they are spread all around the world, actually, in Japan, in the US, and I contacted the wife of Ali Interview, living in the Netherlands, and I set up a few weeks of studying with Ali in Senegal in January 2010. And that was a moment, really life-changing moment. I studied with Ali, one of the eldest sons of Dudu, and that was 4 weeks or 5 weeks of every day playing at the beach, 4 to 5 hours. And the way they teach and play, they're in no hurry whatsoever. When he shows you something, you just play it and play it and play it. And even if you succeeded and you do it, there is no rush in doing something else. You just continue to play the same thing, and it goes in and in and in and in. And that's a different way than usually in the West. You know, in the Western world, the way we study, okay, you understand something, you go to the next thing. Yeah. There, it doesn't exist like that. So that was a pretty amazing experience. Every day, 4 to 5 hours studying the rhythms and composition and the repertoire of that family, of the Ndiaye family, that specific music, leaning on traditional rhythms, but still you have a specific compositions of a specific family, the largest family. So I notated every rhythm, every hit.
Wow.
I have a small book. I didn't even open it since then, because once you write it down, that's the way to implement, like to I don't know how to say it. You just absorb it, you know?
Memorize it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there. It's I don't know, a few dozen of pages, and I also filmed everything. So I have this library, you know. I never look at it, but it's there, and I know it's there, and I have all the knowledge. And that was a moment I studied this beautiful tradition, playing traditionally, how they play on their drums, which is one hand, bare hand, and one stick, but the stick is a lemon tree branch, which is a different thing than holding a hickory Vader stick. Right. So you feel connected still to the wood, and it's a different technique, and it's very interesting. It's more complex than playing with two hands, because a stick creates other articulations that you cannot create with hands. And I came back to Israel after that, and I said, okay, nobody plays this here whatsoever. I mean, people don't know this style here. They play only djembe and dundun, which is, again, amazing tradition as well. But I didn't have any friend or musician to play these Senegalese rhythms. So I said, okay, I'm just going to play it myself. How do I do that? And I just started to take these rhythms and start to arrange the parts, the different parts, in a way that I call it in a manipulation, because technically I cannot play 4 parts simultaneously. It's not possible, because each part has its own stuff you have to play. So you have to reduce. You have to take the essence of each part, and then when you accumulate all these half or reduced parts on top of each other, it sounds full. So that's the philosophy behind it. And then a long process of years and years and years of reducing and practicing, and that eventually brought me to play how I play today. And I think the first solo show was 2012, let's say 2 years after starting this kind of work. And I don't know, today I don't think about it, because it's just so deeply rooted in my body. So I just play. I don't think of anything when I play. You know, my body knows how to produce what I want. Now, another question I get around coordination is that I realized that I don't have any specific or let's say I was not born with any gifts of coordination, natural gifts, you know. I practiced a lot, but I realized first coordination is type of it's a hearing. It's like harmonic develop, like you can practice your harmonic hearing, you know, like chords, and it's something that you can develop. It's coordination is something you have to hear first, and then you can play it. If you hear it, you can play it. If you can play one part with your feet, and then you can sing the other one, so you will be able to play it. It's singing is the first thing that you produce when you hear something, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. And the second thing is that when you have some kind of logic behind it, it's easier. Because if I just, okay, I'll play 7 here and I'll play quintuplets here, accenting every 3 of them, this is like a mind practice, you know. It's nothing natural. But when you play rhythms that were created during hundreds of years and they're still happening, and when people played them first, they didn't think of anything. They were just how do you say that? They were my English is good, but some words.
That's okay. Like
Wow.
organic, or they were feeling it, or they were what?
No, some things that, you know, when things are natural, you don't have to think a lot. So a lot of the like the traditional rhythms were not mind-made. They were just a reflection. That's the word. Reflection of nature. 2 and 3, 2 and 3.
Right.
That's natural, and it exists in every style, in every rhythm, in every ethnic group. You know, it's not something created by the mind. It's how your heart beats, in a way, you know, and it's scientific. You can check it and see it's like that. So when you try to do coordination work with this type of material, it's easier. Your body resonates that without being able, you don't need to go crazy. It works. Yeah, this is my philosophy about coordination. If you do something that has some kind of a nature inside, or natural, it leans on a natural wisdom, it will be easier to control. So a lot of people see my show and they say, okay, how can you play all this? First, practice. Second, understanding tradition, to know how to play the traditional parts as they are. And also just to open yourself to the possibility that you can play this stuff, and also use knowledge that is very old. And then I believe that's the recipe for because just inventing different ideas, going far with things you can play simultaneously, that's very difficult, and you have to practice a lot, and you will be able to play only that. You will not be able to create on top of it.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, it's
a long answer.
It's great. Yeah, and that's perfect. I want to summarize a couple points, or just reiterate a couple points, because a couple things you said there are things that resonate with me and that I believe in. So I just want to reiterate for people watching this that one of the things is, like you said, it starts with listening, so that it can enter your mind, your body, right? So you have to listen. It's not just intellectual listening, but it's like a, how does this fit kind of listening. And not thinking too much. I always recommend to people that want to learn drumming, I say, I even have music teachers that are studying drumming, and I ask them, like, well, so who are a couple of your favorite drummers? Like a couple of your favorite hand drummers. Who can you name? A lot of times people can't name any drummers. And I'm like, are you listening? Are you listening to the music? Because, and it's not to point out, you know, what somebody's doing wrong. It's to point out that we need to listen. We need to listen to the music. Like, listen, enjoy it. You know, listen while you're cleaning the house, driving the car, you know, all the time. It has to get inside. You have to become familiar. And then, like you said,
Listening is the
great.
cure for wars.
Yeah.
You know, that's the solution. Listening.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Listening, listening, listening. And then the other thing, the big one is also it's not an intellectual exercise. You can't just put a checkbox like once you say learn or you understand the rhythm. This is a problem a lot of us have in the West. As soon as we quote understand it, in other words, we can intellectualize it, we can analyze it, then we want to move on,
Exactly.
but we haven't actually played it. We haven't internalized it. We haven't enjoyed it. We haven't savored it. We haven't spent time sitting, being the rhythm,
With it.
right? We haven't felt it, right? We haven't done any of that. And now we're already on to the next thing. And so it's all this real surface level kind of activity. And I would vote for, I mean, maybe you agree or not. I don't know. We can talk about this or people maybe they have questions. I always tell people, look, if you just be able to play one or two things really well, because
Mhm.
honestly, when I go do a gig, and maybe you can talk about this too, what you do for playing with people, usually it's the same 90% of the stuff. It's not that complicated, but I try to just play it well and have a good feel. And that's the most important thing. I'm not playing a huge variety of things. It's just a few things that I'm trying to do. And that gets back to that whole idea of repetition and playing something for hours and hours and hours and letting it really soak in, if you will. So those were a couple things. I just want to reiterate that for people out there because we get into this idea of like collecting. I think of it as like, we have like rhythm merchants, I call them. Like they're the people that they go out and they collect a lot of rhythms and then they sell them to people back home. And those
Mhm.
people get the rhythms and write them down and make recordings. And they feel like they're accomplishing a lot because they're collecting a lot of stuff, right? And we become like musical pack rats. But then
Mhm.
we don't even know what we're doing because we have too much stuff, right? So
You're right. You're right.
I don't know if you want to add to that or speak about that.
Uh,
Also, just real quick, you guys have
yeah.
questions? Put them in the chat or just like do the little hand raisy thing on Zoom so we can get your questions going.
Yeah, I want to add, sometimes you see master drummers coming to Israel from Guinea, from West Africa to give some master classes, workshops. And I must say that I always feel that I don't feel that I want to be exposed to more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I feel like learning another rhythm or another phrase or whatever is not what I'm looking for, and it will be kind of a burden. First of all, I'm doing a lot of stuff, so my head is full. But again, I prefer to do another solo show, and play my stuff again,
Mm-hmm.
so I can go deeper in that. I'm playing for 10 years now the same things every time, and I discover more and more because of that, because I go deeper in that. So for me, it's knowing the repertoire and rhythms and compositions by this specific family. Now I have this knowledge. Now I go deep as much as possible to discover what's there, because knowing I'm not into learning more rhythms on the djembe, or even other phrases or compositions, but by other Senegalese drummers or families. I'm really focused on that, and I see the benefits of doing that. And this is exactly what you say. Um, Knowing more doesn't help in going deeper. So that's my way in that. So I think we share the same
Yeah,
concept there.
I mean, it's like did Jack DeJohnette or Tony Williams or Max Roach need to learn a different style of drumming? No,
Exactly,
they
exactly, exactly.
they
They probably picked up what they did during the time they studied, and it's great to keep on researching and of course learning from other people. But your base, the things you collected and created as a base for you to express yourself, are there. So you don't need much more. Sharing is good. You can always, again, if someone's curious and wants to learn more, that's cool. But you can always go deeper with what you know. That's the point there.
So do we have a, yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ben. Do we have any questions? Any questions for Ben?
I see there one messenger in the chat, or
Let me see. And I just had a thought when you said Dudu and Daya Rosa's family was spread out all over the world. It didn't surprise me because apparently he was filling up Senegal too much, and they said, "You got to spread out, you guys. You can't."
funny.
Spread
You know, in Japan, Senegalese drumming is very strong, and dance as well. I remember being in Senegal in 2013 again, and there was this tani bear. Tani bear is a kind of a ceremony, traditional ceremony. They gather up, let's say, a few hundred people in the square, city square, and you have around 40 drummers playing, and then one dancer goes in this around, like everybody's in a cycle in a around the stage, and then one dancer comes in, dances, the drummers help them express themselves, and then they go out, and then another one comes in. Mm-hmm. So at some point a tour bus came and that's like 2-3 a.m. happening. A tour bus came, and then you saw something like 20 or 30 Japanese dancers coming inside and just dancing like crazy, authentic, traditional Senegalese dance. That was so impressive. Everybody went nuts. And in Japan, Senegalese drumming is very strong. A lot of Dudu's sons are there. And that's, just a funny thing. They are really spread all over.
That's very cool.
Ambassadors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know that's what Babatunde Olatunji, from Nigeria, used to call himself. I mean, he actually wanted to be an ambassador, and then he ended up being an ambassador of music. Mm-hmm. So I had one question from Roseanne. Can you spell out that name? Is that Roseanne? Is that for Dudu and Daya Rose, or which name? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you spell it out, Ben? Dudu and Daya Rose.
You want me to write it down there?
Type it if you want to just say it, but
let's see. I prefer to just.
Yeah, you can.
If I start to Dudu and Daya Rose. Actually, it's a rose, like a rose. Yeah. Dudu and Daya Rose. And I will also write the name of his album.
Yeah, sure.
Most important album, Jabot. Jabot means family in Wolof, and that was released by Real World, I think in 1999 or 1990. I don't remember, but that's a very powerful album played by all his family together on an island called Gore, an island just it's just close to Dhaka, and the capital, and that's like an historic moment for modern drumming there in that video. And that's an album that is actually the full album is just documented in video, so you can listen to the album and watch the video.
Yeah, same audio, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. On YouTube, you can find it, the full thing. It's 42 minutes, something like that. I can put the link later on.
We'll have the VHS somewhere. Yeah. Mark wanted to know Mbalaks in Sabar rhythms. Is there some tutorial online?
Okay, so it's actually pronounced Mbalach.
Balak.
Yeah, the X it's like a. We have it in Hebrew. We call it Chet Mbalach. Okay. Is there some tutorial?
So maybe
wow.
How to say it, and I didn't. So, all right. So yeah, what do you think? Where can
tutorials? Look, I didn't search for any because I studied over there, but maybe there are some Senegalese drummers that show some of it. I'm planning on recording some videos, but thing is with Mbalach playing is that suburb drumming is that there are not so many rhythms going on. It's funny. You have like 4 or 5 main ones. Probably there are more, but the main ones are just 4 or 5. And the whole thing is knowing the repertoire and compositions of the specific family, because the artistic expression is there on what is the composition. And when I say composition, I mean phrases, melodic phrases on the drum that are played in a loop. So you play one phrase, it can be very expressive, very elastic sounding. It's not something, the Senegalese expression on the drums is very different. So let's say they have this one phrase and they play it again and again and again, and then the solo drummer makes this call to go to the next phrase. So these phrases are the compositions, and these are the fingerprint, let's say, of the family. So let's say understanding or studying the basic rhythms is not that complicated, although they are a bit different to our ear, natural ear. But once you get that, the whole thing is to understand the family's expression. So studying from different people from different families will be very interesting. You know.
I have a question for you regarding that, related to that, because I remember the first time I saw the Jabot video, which is back, probably in the early, I mean, it wasn't that old when I saw it, so it's 15 years ago or something, maybe 20. I was taken by the phrasing and some of the rhythms, the polyrhythms, or there's a term hemiola, right? It kind of means like a pattern that is superimposed on an underlying rhythm. That it was difficult for me to again understand, intellectualize what is that rhythm, because it sounded so organic and so free, over the top. I want to ask you, now that you've studied all this, is it even possible to think about some of the phrasing, some of the rhythms that they play, the accents, as a group? Even, I'm not even talking about just a soloist, but some of those rhythms that the whole family's playing, or big parts of the family. Do those fit with our kind of analytical, like if you were going to write it out, would it be
okay
or easy, or does it sometimes I thought maybe it wouldn't be possible to write it down. What do you think?
Yeah, so this is exactly what I said before, that it's elastic. Meaning that time, first of all, time is elastic and not it's not a absolute thing. It's not, it's elastic. And I have had an amazing teacher called Efrain Toro. He's you know him, maybe? Yeah. He's a Puerto Rican percussionist.
He lives here in LA. He's a studio musician, does some work here.
So yeah, so he's like I call it a philosopher, the modern philosopher of rhythm, like the ultimate philosopher. His approach shows you how rhythm is an elastic thing. And so when we in the West try to put things in quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th, even quintuplets, that's grid. And in Senegal, it just does not, first of all, the phrases come from a basic need of communication. Before all these rhythms and ceremonies, you had this drum, and they just had to send messages to the other village without walking there, taking it took some time, or the road was dangerous, whatever. They sent these messages using the drum, and it's an actual language. And when they play, they actually can communicate word by word. There's meaning like a real language behind it. And I saw that once in one of the lessons. My teacher told me that, Ali said that, and I said, what do you mean you can actually talk? I thought maybe it's just like a bigger meaning that you play and it means something, but it's actual words. So one of the guys that were accompanying the lesson, he went I don't know, to the bathroom or whatever, and Ali said, okay, look, I'm calling him to come back. So he just played this thing, and the guy just turned around and came back to the area that we were playing in. And so that was very impressive to see that it's an actual language, and language is elastic, because I can talk like this, and I can also talk like in a way that you will understand me, but it will be very elastic, you know? And this is the way they play. It's based on that. So the phrases are very elastic, and let's say when they play these phrases in groups of 10, 20, 30, 50 drummers, it's so powerful and convincing that you cannot deny it. You know, it just sounds very awkward, it sounds very elastic again, and you cannot really feel where the beat is, but it's there. And also when they play the accompanying parts, the accompanying are they're not absolute, they are dynamic. The phrase can even be a bit faster, and they play it a bit faster, and then they go, everything is very fluid. It's like, I always imagine it as a group of fish, you know, how they move together. And scientists, I believe, don't really realize today even how that happens.
Yeah.
That's like synchronicity, and it's something beyond our understanding. So same thing here in a way. It's just very elastic and fluid.
It certainly is a matter of this intimacy, you know, and knowing familiarity and micro timing, and that, like you said, elasticity. And of course, that's like an accent, right? We're speaking, like right now, we're speaking English, but there's a lot of leeway there people pronounce things differently, but we still understand each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is a lot more elasticity than we might think. But thank you for answering that, because I always wondered that, because it sounded so exotic to me. It really sounded like a different kind of music making, or a different kind of drumming. Is, you know, all the drumming, especially where I grew up in California and in the United States, rock drumming, jazz, and then even some of the West African drumming that I was exposed to was all very metronomic. And it could fairly easily be divided up, you know, into even the Indian drumming, which is very complex and cyclical and odd meters and different length phrases. Still, there was a familiarity to me as a musician of how it's being divided up and how it's being laid out, right, rhythmically. But when I heard the Dudu and Dai Rose ensemble, that all went out the window. And I was like, what is this? This is very new, and it sounded very exotic to me. But also very beautiful and powerful. It was all in the right direction. You know, it wasn't like you said earlier, it wasn't just an intellectual exercise, like I'm going to play this thing because I thought of it. I could tell immediately that there was a very like heartfelt, like just, it all worked. It all made sense. Like there was reason, you know, that it was.
And of course that you can take it and you know, chop it and write it down. It's possible, but they might play it a bit differently the day after, you know, if I don't know, the wind is blowing differently, and they just express themselves different. So, and you said about Indian drumming, if you go to the classical Indian drumming, so yeah, you see everything is very, they count and they know the everything is very in the mind. But if you go to, let's say, and this is the only style I know in India, if you go up north to Rajasthan, which is a desert area, and the way they play Nagara is a drum, is a very old drum from that area. When they play these rhythms, it really reminds me of Senegalese or West African drumming, because first of all, they don't think, it's not that these are not modern compositions or classical music, because Indian classical music is it's modern in a way, but even though it goes long way back, it's still kind of modern music. So if you go to the traditional rhythms of North India, let's say Rajasthan, you can hear the same elasticity. It's still there. When they play, they go faster and slower, and it's very fluid. Different accent, as you say. The accent is a huge part of the essence and of the style and the drumming, but it still has the same the words sometimes just don't come up. It still has the same elasticity and fluidity as let's say it's just traditional. As long as early as you go in tradition, it will be the same everywhere. It doesn't matter, because that's before mind coming in and okay, hey, maybe we try this, you know. Just maybe we try this is immediately something from, if you think about it. If you don't think, you just play, things come out, and that's natural. So you can find it in traditional music. That's what Ephraim Toro is teaching. If you go really back in every tradition, every music tradition, you can find all these elements in the same. They're all the same.
Yeah, great. That's really great. Mark had wanted to ask you to talk about the kind of like choosing the, the one man tribe band, playing it yourself kind of thing, as opposed to, and it doesn't have to be opposed to or in lieu of, but you talk a little bit about that, your one man band, one man tribe, as opposed to just playing in large groups with other people and jamming, in ensembles.
Mm-hmm. First of all, yeah, it's a different thing. So there is no, let's say I love playing with people, and especially with the people I love. I mean, my partners in music are people that I love, so that's always something I will never stop doing. But a natural place for me is being alone on stage, and putting myself in this situation where I just have to play. I cannot hide. I put myself in a place that if I'm not gonna play now, this whole thing is gonna crash. And that brings something out of you. It's like jumping out of the plane, and you have to control the situation in a way. But still, before you open the parachute, you can try and enjoy it. So that's kind of how I approach it. And also, I really love to do things myself. I love to edit videos, to record, to learn things, and I prefer to do all these things myself because I'm curious. So my whole one man tribe thing is a concept of living in a way. I have a girlfriend, of course. It's not like being a hermit or whatever and not being in contact with people, but yeah, I think one thing doesn't replace the other, and it's very special to play by yourself in front of the audience. That's something I recommend everybody to do, although it's terrifying in the beginning. But that can lead to very interesting moments with yourself.
Absolutely. I'm doing the same thing right now with my Sunday service things, the live looping. So yeah, put yourself out there and just press the go button, whether it's on stage or you're recording or you're live streaming or whatever, and just do your thing, right? And enjoy being
commit.
Edge.
Commit. You have to commit to the moment.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's like going on a journey, right? Leave the house with your backpack and get on the trail and go. And
that's pure meditation. If I think for a second while playing, I make mistakes. If I say, okay, I've been playing this phrase or rhythm for 10 years now by myself on stage, and I've been doing it flawlessly without thinking. If I think about my left foot for a second, I feel that the tower is shaking, so it's really a matter of being in the moment. That's pure meditation. And you can look at yourself from a side and see. You don't have to be detached from the situation. You can still be there and notice that you're there, but you still have to be very free in your mind to do that. And I don't know, let's say if I perform one or two shows a month, that's twice a month that I go very deep in meditation. It's an amazing experience to do with drumming.
That's a really I love that way of thinking about it. Like it's just a meditation, and the witnesses, in this case it could be the live audience or it could be an online audience. Those people witnessing it are part of that, but you're not dependent on that. I feel like a lot of us get shut down by the fear of judgment, right? I mean, it's scary, like you said. It's a lot of us have stage fright for that reason, because of the not because there's people there, but because of what the implication is, especially online. And this is a topic. This is a whole nother topic, but YouTube comments, right? If you're going to put your stuff out online, or anywhere, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you're going to get people that say different things, different kinds of comments, and many of them are simply entertaining themselves. But the point is, can you make that okay? Because we don't want it to stifle creativity or prevent any of us from doing the thing we want to do. And so I think it's a great exercise to put yourself out there and let people say what they want to say, because at the end of the day, that's about them. It's not about you. So I love that you're posting, you're creating, you're doing shows, you're doing videos, because we as musicians need to help each other, right? We have to lead each other in that direction, in a positive direction, and not let the mob kind of shut us down, because that can happen, and that's sad when that happens. So thank you for doing everything you're doing, and being a leader.
Thanks. Do you know Uri Geller, the magician, Israeli magician? Do you know him? So he said once, there is no such thing as a bad PR. So imagine that someone is watching your video and he hates it. And then he says, okay, this guy, what is he doing? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna show this to my friends and laugh at him. And then he shows that to his friends, and the friends, they love it, and then they share it. So there's no such thing as a bad PR. And as you have to also remember that you're doing it for yourself,
right?
To express yourself. And if you express, you are an expression of the universe, and that's it. And first of all, if you don't judge yourself, you will probably not really mind if other people will. And although it's not pleasant, but this is how it is. And that's part of it.
And everybody has their own take. Somebody who's kind of has a negative outlook in general is going to look at things and think negative things, and that's not about you, right? It's about them, right? It's just like the pessimist and the optimist, or the people they don't like where they're at, so they impose that view on other things and other people, and I think it helps to understand that.
I have this I had this funny experience with Senegalese people. Imagine I take their culture and I create something new with it. I have the nerve to come and say, look what I'm doing here with your culture. And I was pretty blown away by their support. And although I got some, the reactions are like, let's say 98% supportive, then 2% haters. And the haters are like, okay, the white people, they stole our diamonds and gold, now they steal our music. That's a sentence that keeps on coming. But 98% of them, they said, okay, this is an ambassador of our culture to places that we usually won't deliver. And they are so happy to see what I'm doing. And for me, it was not clear if I'm doing something good or not. So the test was to go there and show it to them. So there is a video on my YouTube channel. I don't remember the name of it, maybe Live in Senegal, or there's like a small documentary, let's say, of my last tour in Senegal. That was January 2020. And I had all these solo gigs and pretty important meetings with local musicians and famous musicians. And I even had 4 TV shows that I took part and played in the opening section of the show, they really went nuts for it, and I got lots of support. Still, you have the haters and you have the music lovers and people want to support and see the good side of it. So you can watch that video and on my channel. That's really interesting to see. That was for me the test if I'm okay or not. And I got the approval of really important musicians, and they said, okay, you're doing something great and continue, all good. And until that moment, I was not sure, but today I can sleep quietly. And
Yeah, I think artists, people that create things, artists, and appreciate that no matter what it is, no matter where it's coming from, what culture. The people that claim also, I don't understand the you're taking our music argument, even, because then it would imply that you don't have it anymore. Like, you can't steal somebody's music because then they still have it. It's not, you're not taking, you're maybe you could use the word mimicking or reproducing. That's okay. I mean, that's cultural spreading culture. That's not stealing culture, and that's not necessarily misappropriating culture, because unless you're doing it in a way that's disrespectful, then there's really no problem. I mean, that's just natural evolution of cultural sharing.
mm-hmm.
So the people that have that idea of stealing, I guess they're just, again, they're probably bitter about something else and they want to use that as an excuse. But we do, and not to also get into a whole nother topic, we do have a lot of that kind of jumping on the bandwagon and shaming artists and actors and people and creators where it may or may not be justified or justifiable, because people misunderstand really what's happening there. They think it's, they might call it like you're taking something, when in fact you are learning and sharing and honoring an art form, actually. So
I always think about it as, if humans are acting in a way today, they did it before, long before. So I just try to imagine it, that if I go, let's say 1,000 years back in let's say West Africa, and you have two tribes, and one tribe, they have their music or rhythm, whatever, and the other has their own, and then they start listening to each other, and they steal from one another. But you would call it, from today's perspective, traditional music, right? So stealing from from each other is actually creating something new that will eventually be called traditional, and nobody will know that. So a very important part of the human evolution and music evolution is that we change and exchange knowledge and genes and particles, and when we hug people, we leave some of our genetic info on them, and we guarantee the existence of our race. It's just how things work, and it's
Dudu and I Rose was leaving a lot of genetic information. Some might say too much.
A lot. He passed away, and he still continues. Yeah,
what a legacy.
Yeah, amazing.
Before we're going to start wrapping up, but we have time for a couple more questions. Mark wanted to know about the artwork on your shirts, your t-shirts. Is that like a thing?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. Okay, so there's my dear friend Lital Dorchin. She's an artist, and she expresses her let's say genes, but as a genie. Demons, let's say, on t-shirts. So it's all hand painted, and she recently moved to Brussels. She left Israel, but I think she still sells them, and this is the only t-shirts I wear and perform with. I perform with, if you watch that Senegal tour video, I'm wearing only that. And so good question there.
You put the name of people who want it, you type that in.
Sorry?
Or is there any contact information?
Yeah, I think on Facebook, I can later on maybe add it as a comment on the YouTube video that will be.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then DB. Where's DB? Oh, okay. I get David asked, I'd love to hear about your setup and the process of how it all developed. So that's a that's probably a whole video that you could make for your channel. But
That's
what do you
yeah.
is there a quick version of that discussion?
Yeah. So let's say that my approach is that every drum is a note. So it's endless. I can put 20 drums. They will be there, so I can just touch them, and create my piano, let's say. But before going and expanding all these sounds, there are basic things I need in order to create the illusion that you're hearing a few drummers simultaneously. So I have the three dun drums on the floor. So you have the bass one, and then the one that's a bit higher, and then the kinkini, which is a high note. So these create some kind of a conversation between themselves when I play, using a cajon pedal that has this wire, so I can control the three drums. And then I have a djembe, chol, which is a Senegalese. I have it here. Maybe I show it. It's my favorite drum. Mm-hmm. It's very heavy. It's beautiful, and the important thing about it that you can see that it's full. It's not fully carved, and it has a beautiful tone. I don't know if it sounds nice here now, but that's my favorite drum. So I have one of these, sometimes two, and my setup is mostly made of Senegalese drums standing and dun drums lying down. So I'm very used to my drums. If I have to set it up with other drums, I don't know, if I tour or whatever, that's always a challenge, because I'm accustomed to my drums. I mean, it feels like it's my piano actually. And when I play a different drum, it just I can still play and do what I do, but it doesn't sound the same. So I'm very, let's say, I do everything I can to play my own setup.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, and the most important thing, you've been unboxing and playing this lately in your live loops.
Yes. Yeah, let's get to that.
The shake-it is just I spoke about it in a video I released on your channel. The shake-it is a beautiful sounding metal rattle thing. You control it with a hi-hat stand, and the reason I invented it is to be able to play massive sounding hits with high frequencies, and not for timekeeping, which is also a great thing to do with it. But as I said, they play like 50 drummers together, and when they play the bass, let's say that the phrases are very complicated. If you listen to one drummer playing, it's very complex, but when you hear it as a group, it all comes down to bass and slap. In a way, it just pixelates it to 8-beat. It's very easy. It's when you hear it as a massive sound, it's high and low. So low tones can be generated with just playing all the drums together and playing with two hands the bass notes. But when you want to play high notes, high frequencies in a massive way, you need something massive. And the shake hat was made for that. Mm-hmm. So I use it as a melodic tool, and that's a very important part in my setup. And as well, I use it to play the clave, the Senegalese clave, which goes like this. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Very simple, but still, when they play on top of it, it's confusing and complex. But most of my videos, you can look at it. If I'm improvising, I'm just holding this ostinato with my left foot always. Mm-hmm. And I also play. That's another interesting thing, that I play with my foot on the side, so I can press both the shake hat pedal and also the sangban, one of the dunes. So I can play them both. So you can actually hear the same pattern with two different elements. And yeah, we can
Yep.
go on and on.
I'm sure we'll see more. And if you guys haven't watched some of Ben's videos, please do. I love them. I think they're great, musical, entertaining. They're well produced. They're shot well. The audio is good. I mean, I appreciate all of the aspects. As somebody who also, like Ben, likes to do a lot of things myself, and obviously, I'm producing a lot of content, media. Um, so I'm looking for those aspects as well, which some people may not care about that stuff, but there's a lot that goes into it. So I hope you guys appreciate that. And so we do need to wrap up. But Ben, is there how can people, as much as you'd like to be reached, how can people reach you? Or are you teaching? Can they reach out to you for what? How do people contact you?
First of all, I'm open always to. I love to write, emails, whatever. If you can always contact, email, Instagram, Facebook. I'm very approachable, and I would love to communicate and share whatever I can. So that's without paying anything, or taking any lessons. And I also teach. I don't do that much online, but it's possible, and yeah, open for that as well. My Facebook page is the most active one. I upload a lot of videos there. Today I upload another one. I'm working on getting my YouTube channel as well up and running better. So you can expect to see more videos and content there. Yeah, so feel free to contact. On my website, you have a contact form, or my email, it's all there. So feel free.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with everybody. And like I said, I mean, congratulations on the music and everything you're putting out there. I hope it grows and turns into everything that you would like it to, and other things that happen, and you get other opportunities. And I'm looking forward to also further collaborations down the road, and see where we
Thank
can.
you so much for having me, and we can do this again and talk about other issues and topics, and I'll be happy to do this. So
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do more. And also just one more piece of technology I'm just starting to experiment with. And now, I think it's called Far Play, which is a audio synchronizing tool. It's not video, but it is a internet audio app where musicians can play with each other. And I'm just experimenting with it now. The latency is very low, so maybe there's possibilities there. Although it does say that you can't be too far. I don't know about Israel and California, but certainly, if it's not that far, a few hundred miles, or a few hundred kilometers, it's not too bad. So maybe
I can recommend a tool called. It was developed by a good friend. It's called Pajam. Pajam. And it's a tool for working, like making music online together with no latency, but it's for looping. So you always loop together. It's not playing music ongoing. It's just that you create one loop, and then you see each other, and you can add infinite loops to it with effects and stuff. Right. And that's great. So that's even cooler. So you can add up a lot of music inside, and not needing too many people. So that's a cool tool. It's called Pajam.
All right, good. And one of our patrons who's here, Mark Palmer, also has an app called Jammables, right? And that's an app available now, so you guys can look that up. It's you trigger existing apps, but maybe Mark, maybe Ben will have some of his. Maybe you'll have some of his apps on there, since he's doing loops. All right, we got to get rolling. I appreciate you guys showing up. And yeah, thanks again, Ben. It's been a pleasure, and let's do more in the future. And thanks, everybody.
Kalani, thank you so much. You're doing an amazing work and sharing so much knowledge with so much knowledge with the drumming community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, it's fun. I realize it's fun to make stuff and for myself and produce things. But lately, as I become mature, I become more ripe and sweeter. Uh, I get a lot of pleasure out of just being like a hub of a wheel and sharing and seeing people get excited about learning from each other and all that. So it's my pleasure. So thanks everybody.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're gonna
Great.
we're gonna sign off, and I'll see you guys in the next jam. Next month we have Carolyn Brandy, percussionist, extraordinaire. So we'll see you there, and go check out Ben's stuff, Ben Eylon. All right, thanks everybody.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.